As you've probably heard, recently Daisy Ridley, the actress who plays Rey, said in an interview that she thought it was obvious who Rey's parents were after her first viewing of the movie, and she was surprised others hadn't figured it out. She believed there was more than enough evidence right in The Force Awakens to answer the question. This, of course, has reignited all the speculation, as if it ever truly went away, about who her parents are, since the answer is apparently not something we have to wait for Episode 8 to learn. Now, I think it's important to note that people have been speculating on Rey's parentage since long before The Force Awakens even came out, probably since the first teaser trailer. Why is that important to note? Because it's always been assumed that she has to be the daughter of someone important we already know. Very few people thought she was just going to be a new character with a whole new story, especially when it's been stated that the saga films will always be about the Skywalker family. That right there implies our new heroine would be someone connected to the Skywalker family. Some have even thought she was the reincarnation of Anakin, which seems odd and ridiculous to say the least. Then there's the theory that seems popular right now, that she's the granddaughter of ObiWan Kenobi and the daughter of Luke Skywalker and Sabine from Rebels. And Sabine is the daughter of Satine from Clone Wars, who hooked up with Obi-Wan. And yeah, if you want to see more about that, there are plenty of videos out there that go into it. I'm not going to waste my time with that here. Anyway, as I see it, one of the biggest mistakes with pretty much every theory out there about Rey is that they assume she was brought to and left on Jakku from somewhere else, which makes zero sense no matter what theory you want to believe in. Why would anybody drop her off on Jakku and give her to Unkar Plutt of all beings in the galaxy? You could argue that, like Luke before her, he had special powers and had special parents and was hidden on a harsh desert planet, and since The Force Awakens mirrors A New Hope so heavily that it makes sense that the same was done to Rey. However, there are plenty of problems with that. First, what reason would she need to be hidden? Luke was hidden from his father and the Emperor. That makes sense. And thanks to the book Bloodlines, we know that as of 6 years before the events of The Force Awakens, all was going rather well. Luke was still doing his Jedi thing, Ben Solo was still his dutiful apprentice, the Republic was divided, yes, but in power, and the First Order was only starting to emerge from the shadows. So why would Rey be hidden roughly 10 to 11 years before the events of The Force Awakens if everything was fine? I can't think of any. Also, when Luke was hidden on Tatooine, he was given to his family, and Obi-Wan, as we've seen in the comic books if you're reading them, was constantly vigilant, even saving his life a couple times. Unkar Plutt is in her family, obvious, and he sure as hell is no Obi-Wan Kenobi and doesn't seem too concerned about her well-being. Why would anyone who cared about her give her to that guy? And if they did, let's point out he's doing a piss-poor job of watching out for her. So if she wasn't dropped off on Jakku, it means she was born on Jakku, and had simply been left behind by her less-than-stellar parents. Watch the part of the Force vision again with young Rey. All we see is a small ship leaving the planet and her screaming, "Come back." She's not screaming, "Don't leave me here on this strange planet I've never been to before with this crazy fish guy." Yes, I realize she wouldn't have said that anyway. She's saying come back because she's always been there. That's always been their home, and they're leaving her behind. Look at how she's dressed in that scene too, in a very familiar desert garb and pretty much what she wears in the whole movie, implying those are her normal clothes she's always been wearing on her life on Jakku. So this then begs the question, why would her parents leave her behind? That's simple. They were obviously horrible parents and they wanted off Jakku no matter what the cost. Likely they were scavengers, like Rey is, who'd been saving up for a long while to afford passage on a ship, and when the opportunity arose to get off Jakku, they took it, even if they couldn't bring Rey with. Hell, for all I know, giving her to Unkar Plutt, as creepy as it may sound, may have been part of the deal. Don't want to believe that Rey's parents were just some deadbeats who chose a life elsewhere over their daughter? Well, right after the Force Vision scene, Maz Kanata confirms this by telling Rey, "Dear child, I see your eyes. You already know the truth. Whomever you're waiting for on Jakku, they're never coming back." And it's right then and there that Rey begins to finally accept that, yep, your parents left you behind and they're never coming back. It's also this point that if this were any other movie, the audience would have taken Maz's comments at face value and realized we'd just been blatantly told everything we need to know about her parents. They're irrelevant because they simply left her on Jakku and, as Maz said, will never be coming back or playing a part in the future movies. Maz Kanata then goes on to say that the belonging you seek is not behind you, meaning it's time to forget your deadbeat parents who left you behind, just like we the audience should. It is ahead, meaning if you help find Luke, he could train you to be a Jedi. And could any message be more Disney than that, telling all the girls out there who are supposed to relate with Rey that it doesn't matter who you are, or where you come from, or what situation in life you find yourself in, you can become somebody. Want even more proof? Throughout the movie, Rey stresses that Jakku is her home and she's waiting there for her parents to come back. She doesn't want to get a ship and fly to wherever she was before she lived on Jakku. That's because she's always lived there. She even has the opportunity to do just that, not only in the movie when they steal the Millennium Falcon, but in the book Before the Awakening. Rey, with the help of two friends, finds and repairs the ship. When Rey refuses to leave Jakku with her friends, they simply take the ship and leave her behind. Let's also not forget the line, I never knew there was so much green, or I never knew there was this much green in the whole galaxy, when they get to Takodana. She says that because she's never been anywhere but Jakku. Now sure, conspiracy theorists will make the argument that she doesn't remember where she lived before Jakku, but she was roughly 8 years old during the Force Vision scene, and I don't know about you, but I can remember where I lived before I was 8 years old. Maybe she had her mind force wiped, as some call it, but why? She'd been left on Jakku roughly 10 or 11 years before the start of the movie, and, as I've already stated, everything was fine in the galaxy. It makes no sense that Luke or Kylo Ren or whoever else you want to think did it would leave her there and wiped her mind and left her. And if they did, it again returns us to the question of why Unkar plot on Jakku of all places? Okay, so that still leaves us with one glaring problem, doesn't it? How is she so strong in the Force if she comes from average parents? I could again bring up the fact that Disney, who no doubt had a huge say in every aspect of this, their first Star Wars movie, wanted to show how an average girl could be so powerful, and this would endear herself to women and girls of all ages. Or I could also just point out that, other than the Skywalker lineage, do we have any proof that Force sensitivity or power is passed down? Let's not forget that the Jedi are forbidden to love or get married and so on, and that they were still finding new Force-sensitive kids all the time to fill their ranks. Hell, there was roughly 10,000 of them during the time of the prequels. Then there's also the fact that there is something up with the planet Jakku itself. If you've read the Aftermath books, you know that Palpatine takes an interest in the planet for reasons that have yet to be revealed. Also, why was Lord Santeca on Jakku? He is a member of the Church of the Force, and he has gone to many sacred Jedi or Force locations in the galaxy. What led him to Jakku? So, maybe something about being born on Jakku is what led her to being so powerful. Maybe something her parents did was responsible. Daisy Ridley also said that once we have the answers to who her parents are, it would lead to more questions. I tend to believe we're going to find out her parents are more or less irrelevant, but something about Jakku itself is special. Personally, I think the Force has simply chosen her and is using her and is awakening in her. It is trying to desperately lead her to Luke, the last Jedi left, so that he can be snapped out of his little funk, for lack of a better way to put it, and to start training Jedi again. Remember that at night when Rey's trying to sleep, she imagines an island that I'd like to note that Kylo Ren has also seen now, thanks to his mind probe of her. And I'm about 99.999% sure that island is the last Jedi temple. It's where she can find Luke. Also, when she touches the saber, she's basically shown a brief history of the balance of the Force. It wants her to know the desperate situation the galaxy is in again. It wants her to find Luke. Let's also not forget that when she meets up with Finn on Starkiller Base, she seems baffled by her own actions. Some claim her using the mind trick on the Stormtrooper is remembering old training. I think it's the Force just working through her. After all, why would you train an 8-year-old, or even younger, how to do Jedi mind tricks? Not only does that seem like a bit more advanced training, but it seems like a bad idea to have little kids being able to mind trick people. Then there's the fight at the end of the movie against Kylo Ren. A fight an injured Kylo Ren is more or less winning till the moment she mutters the Force. And then of course she goes on to whoop his ass. Again, this is her just fully embracing the Force and the Force working through her to help her defeat Kylo Ren so she can get to Luke Skywalker eventually. The funny part about all of this is I don't think her parents were ever intended to be a huge mystery. Like Daisy Ridley suggests, I think the answer is in plain sight and they hit you over the head with it. But we've all refused to accept it. We Star Wars fans want her to have some type of cool backstory that relates to characters we've known and loved in the past, and that just isn't the case. I myself firmly believed for a long while that Luke was her father, but reading Bloodlines pretty much destroyed that theory for me. I think if the answer truly is obvious, as Daisy claims, it has to be the simplest answer, not one with an intricate backstory that can only be pieced together by die-hard fans who consume every piece of canon they can get their hands on. And the simple answer that every Star Wars fan, no matter your level of fandom, is that her parents were random people who left her behind without the intent of ever coming back. It's not the sexy cool answer we all want, but I'm pretty sure it's the one we're going to get. The truly interesting part will be, if I'm right of course, how outraged fans will be if she isn't anyone special, even though we're the ones who created this insanity about her backstory in the first place. Alright, well, that's my theory. Thanks for watching, and feel free to comment below if you agree or disagree.